Hey guys, how are you doing today? So today I wanted to talk about introverts, extroverts, and ambiverts because well, despite throwing my face up online and just talking incessantly about anything that comes to my mind, I'm also very much an introvert. I need my alone time. I need that time to recharge. Being around people is really draining. Even if I've talked about like my tired hours, if I want to be around you, it means a lot for multiple reasons. So I looked up some definitions and stuff. I don't really care for the definition they gave for introvert because it says a shy person, and that's not what that necessarily means. Some introverts are definitely shy. I'm not as shy as I used to be, but I still can be. It depends on the situation and who I'm around. I'm wearing an actual nice, decent shirt for once, but it's all wrinkly. I feel like when I laugh, I look like the Trollolol guy meme. Just a thought. But yeah, I used to be shy. I used to be really shy. Like, I would not speak to you if I didn't know you. And that was something that really annoyed me as a kid because I was so shy. My parents would like try to force me to talk to complete strangers in the store. Like, they would compliment my hair or whatever because it used to be like orange. And I'd just be like, no, I just want to go home. I don't know this person. And why? And so, yeah. But for me now, it's not so much shy. It's just I need alone time. I don't want to put myself in social situations that I know are gonna drain me, that I don't think that I'm not gonna find very fun, and things like that. And it's just, I don't need to be around people to feel energized and, whole and whatnot. What it says for an extrovert is an outgoing, overly expressive person, or a socializer, which I don't even know if that's completely, I just googled these, if that's completely accurate either. So like for me, being an introvert is that, yes, I can throw my face up online, but I do it in my own time, I do it my own way, and if I am working with other people, again, it's a time that benefits both of us or all of us, and it's something we all have been wanting to do, not just one person. That way we don't feel dragged along or anything like that. And you're just being like, oh my god, why I can't wait till I get home. And I mean, there's still sometimes that's how it is. It's just like, I like just being alone, and I'm okay with it. It's good for my peace of mind and my energy levels. So like, I worked retail for 8 years. Holidays would be like, it was already a draining job to begin with, but holidays even more so. Like, it's gotten to the point where I don't care for the holidays. I'm like, whatever. Because not only like is it a ton more people than normal, and you're having to go like at least 3 times the pace you normally go, and you gotta just be on top of things. You're also seeing the worst of people. It's supposed to be about like coming together and happiness and all that, and I talked a little bit about this in the depression video, but it's just like, some people will get, like, one year I was working at Loft, the clothing store, and there was a tornado on Christmas Eve because, global warming. But yeah, there was a tornado that went like right past the shopping center where I worked at. And there were people in this tornado weather, out in it, trying to get like this last minute shirt or this last minute present that nobody really needs. I'm like, your life is not worth a shirt. It really is not. So don't do that. But that's neither here nor there. But it's just really draining. And there'd be days where I'm just like, ugh, let me go home. I don't want to be here. And when I get home, not talk to anybody. Wouldn't even like get on socials. I'd just like turn on a video game or a movie or something, or read a book and just zone out completely. So that really has nothing to do about being shy. I'm not good at it, but I can do public speaking now. As long as I have my notes and I've fully researched the topic and whatnot, I'm pretty good at knowing like how to respond to any question that comes up. And that's things to my education, and kind of a lot of my classes force you to do a public a presentation, so you had to do that. And like I was on a stunt board PR committee where I had to do a couple big speeches in front of the whole town, basically, in this huge auditorium. So that helps. And then I did tours at historic tours at a historic house. So you get past the shy thing after a while. I'm working in retail, and it's more of a matter of not socializing and when to just pick your own battles, basically, when you want to socialize and when you need that time to recoup and re-energize. I feel like while this is kind of true for extroverts, it's, from what I've seen, this is like they do get more energy from being in social situations. It doesn't mean they're partying or drinking all the time. That means to just, well, chat with their friends a lot more, and again, not being an extrovert, it's outside looking in, but there's that phrase where, you know, being an introvert in an extroverted world, it's actually about half and half, but because extroverts are so outspoken, introverts kind of get shoved back a little bit. And as an introvert, you kind of have to push yourself to be a little bit more extroverted, despite your natural inclination to not, if you want to be heard, which is frustrating. It is truly, truly frustrating. But once you get into like a pattern, or you know when to step forward and speak and when it's best for you to stay back, it makes it a little bit easier. And while extroverts will just be like, I'm here. Look at me. I'm great. So introverts kind of got to get that same thing. And I think, like with me, I thought for the longest time it was just about confidence, which, I mean, was and still is a bit of an issue for me. But and it's definitely a part, but it's just the personality. It's who they are. It's not a matter of confidence. Sometimes extroverted people will say the dumbest things, and it's not a matter of confidence. They're just like, I'm just gonna say whatever comes out. That's just part of the personality. And sorry, I was looking at my notes here, and I just copy and paste most of this off of Google. I'm just like, this is not true at all. It's like many extroverts, he was unhappy inside. What the fuck? That has nothing to do with anything. Google. That's not okay, Google. That's not okay. It's okay. You can be happy around people, and you can be happy being by yourself. That's not a matter of how outgoing you are or not. But okay. Okay. And so this one is and I didn't learn these terms until I was in college. For the longest time, I thought I was just like this quiet, self-conscious person, which is partially true. But then I was just like, introvert and extrovert. It was a psychology class I had to take for my education degree, and I was like, holy shit, I'm not just a weird quiet kid. I am a little bit, but there's a term for what I am, because there were some times like I really enjoyed hanging out with my friends and it would give me energy, but as soon as I get home, I'm just like deflate, basically. Like, because I save up all my energy for that event and then just go shoot when I get home, because I don't have to put on a show for anyone, basically. And extroverts, I've noticed, can they're like the Energizer Bunny. As long as they're in a social situation, they keep on going. Just do. And that's not to say you don't need your own alone time and quiet time. You just don't need it as much as introverts. So this is a new one. The next word, fairly new to me. I'm saying like the last 3-4 years I've learned it. It's ambivert. It's a person who is a balance between introvert and extrovert. So like you need a little bit more quality time with yourself or quiet time than a traditional extrovert would, but you still also thrive in social environments and social settings. So you're just a good mixture of both, which hopefully one day I can get to, but I don't know if my body will let me ever do that. So I just took some notes on all three, or what I could find from more accredited places. So this quote is from psychologytoday.com. The basics of introversion. Here's a quote. If a crowded cocktail party feels like a holding cell to you, even as you gamely keep up your end of the chatter, chances are you're an introvert. Introverts are drained by social encounters and energized by solidarity, often creative pursuits. So that's like, I'm at my happiest working on cosplays, or even like doing this, because like while this is going out to the internet and whoever can see it, I'm still like by myself. I'm talking to a camera, not a person. So if any of that makes sense, and like the cosplays, or just working on things like working with my hands and stuff like that in general, that's when I'm at my happiest, creating something. Instead of, throwing parties or anything like that. And I know people who absolutely love throwing parties and hosting. They live for it and they're great at it. And that's their thing, and I applaud them for that. That is not my thing. Now, I can throw down a theme with the best, but not my top thing I love to do. So their disposition is frankly misconstrued as shyness, social phobia, or even avoidant personality disorder. But many introverts socialize easily. They just strongly prefer not to. Exactly. It's just like pick and choose. You don't have to talk to everyone. The people I do talk to, I'm choosing to talk to, and we have really good conversations. And, I talked about how like some people I'll just click with immediately, and if I don't click with them immediately, it's really not gonna grow into anything. And, like it's not gonna become a friendship or anything like that. But if I do click with you immediately, it's just, we're gonna have good conversations, we're gonna have a good time, and we're not gonna feel drained after it. There's definitely been people I've worked with that are extroverts, and they're just like, do you hate me? And I'm like, no. And they're like, you never talk to me. I'm like, I don't talk to anybody. It's not a personal thing. And then I had some coworkers, and I'm like, stay the fuck away from me, but yeah, it's like, it's not hard for us to socialize all the time, or no, all the time's not the right word, but it's not difficult to socialize. It's a matter of who we want to socialize with. I'm not just gonna go up to a random person and be like, hi, blah 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 blah, and try to start a conversation. If I've gotten better about like giving people compliments, and that tends to be a good icebreaker. Like one person I met back a little bit after Christmas, a couple days after Christmas, through a friend of mine I met on Instagram, in cosplaying world and all that, great people. She's like, yeah, my friend's coming over to work on some stuff, and like when she walked in, she was wearing an All Might hoodie, and I was like, I love your hoodie, and we became fast friends after that. Yeah, so it's just like I said, matter of picking who you want. And a lot of people suck. Like, people on a whole are not great. I don't like them. They could do a lot better. So continuing on this, in fact, the self-styled introvert can be more empathetic and interpersonally connected than his or her outgoing counterparts. The line between introversion and lonely loners gets blurry. However, as some introverts do wish they could break out of their shell. And that's what I've been talking about. It's just like, sometimes you feel like you're kind of like up against a wall, and you have to kind of like punch your way through it. Like, that's one reason I was so like, I actually kind of wanted to start this back in the summer, this whole YouTube thing, but I didn't start until just as a creative outlet and kind of a marketing tool, honestly. Yeah, creative outlet, just a place more than just Facebook and my friends seeing the same rants over and over again about politics and how America's not doing great right now, and how we could do a lot better, in the world problems as a whole, and then things like that. Just talking incessantly about things, because as you all know, if I get on a topic, I can talk forever. So that's not the problem. But it takes a long time to fight up against and there's still times I'm like, I'm just not gonna do that. For sometimes legitimate reasons, sometimes I'm just not feeling up to it. Like, I actually wanted to film this video months ago. By months ago, I mean like December, because I've only been doing this for 2 months, but yeah. Forgot what I was saying. But yeah, I got it. You fight up against the wall. So it's taken me a long time from, like, I just remember all through school, including into high school, that public speaking was really difficult. Even when I knew what I was talking about, I'd still stumble over my words and add the ums and ands and all that, which I still do now. But I found, like, tips and tricks for myself, like having my notes, having things bullet pointed, reading ahead, preparing myself for it all prior to standing up in front of the class. And that doesn't mean it's a perfect, flawless speech, by no means, but it's a lot better. And I come off a lot better. So, yeah. And it can be like you like, sometimes they're just like, I really wish I could get out of this shyness. And sometimes you just have to say something. And when I do that, my mind kind of goes fuzzy, because I just, like, you know, like when you get angry, you see red. Well, it's just kind of like stepping into white noise, and I'm like, blah, blah, words. When I'm trying to break through that shell and get through that. And I definitely agree on the empathetic part, because instead of doing all the talking, you do I know I do, and my friends who are introverts do a lot more listening. And so you can just be like, okay. And interpersonal connections, it's a lot easier when you're choosing who you talk to, who you pick to have conversations with. You're having more of a meaningful conversation. You get a better feel for that person rather than something just superficial. So I definitely agree with that for myself. So in another article from scientificamerica.com, it's the power of introverts. And this is the quote I was kind of talking about earlier. We live in a nation that values its extroverts, the outgoing, the lovers of crowds, but not the quiet types who change the world. It's also important to understand that introversion is different from shyness. Shyness is a fear of negative judgment, while introversion is simply the preference for less stimulation. Shyness is inherently uncomfortable. Introversion is not. The traits do overlap, though psychologists debate to what degree. So like I said earlier, if it's a situation I'm uncomfortable in, then I probably am going to come off as much more shy. But if I'm in a comfortable situation and I'm not talking, I'm just comfortable being there. I don't really have anything to say, so I'm not going to force a conversation. So, yeah. I noticed it. And this was an interview with an author. Did I put the book in there? I didn't put the book in there. But why my nose itch so much? So yeah, it's an interview. So Cook, the interviewer, you argue that our culture has an extroversion bias. Can you explain what you mean? Kane, the author of the book and the interviewee, in our society, the ideal self is bold, gregarious, and comfortable in the spotlight. We like to think that we value individuality, but mostly we admire the type of individual who's comfortable putting himself out there. Our schools, workplaces, and religious institutions are designed for extroverts. Introverts are to extroverts what American women were to men in the 1950s. Some would still argue that that's the case. Second-class citizens with gigantic amounts of untapped talent. So because we're not, like, in the front line all day, every day, we're not considered as maybe as intelligent or creative or stuff, just because we're not, like, bombastic and loud and in your face. And I'm not saying that those are bad things at all. a lot of good things can come from that as well if it's done correctly. It's not used for nefarious purposes or anything like that. But it just, that perceived notion is that just because you're loud or you're out there, you're constantly talking means you're better. It doesn't. And for like mine, I'm just like, I don't want to say plotting, but basically you're just buying your time. Kind of like, you know, Burr versus Hamilton. Hamilton is an extrovert. Burr, much more introverted, but still out there politically and in the war effort and all that. And, you know, Theodosia, not his daughter, his wife, that comes out later. If you don't know, if you don't even have to know that much about Hamilton, just get the album for the play. You will learn so much about Burr. Not even just Hamilton, but Burr. But, you know, he's waiting for it. He's biding his time. He ended up being vice president. And, spoilers, shooting Hamilton in a duel over egos. Like, you thought it was bad now, how people will just fight with each other online. And somebody's ego gets hurt, and then they'll, like, block them or ban them or whatever. No, babe. It'd be like crack of dawn or the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. There'd be the two duelers, and they would have pistols, and then they'd have two people behind them, kind of like as witnesses to say this person shot this person. And these were legal in most states. Like, you could do this because your ego and your pride was bruised, instead of just talking it out and using communications. So yeah, fucking not even childish ass shit, stupid ass shit. So yeah, and so he waited, he got into the Senate, he got into the vice presidentship. I mean, some will argue he didn't do a whole lot, but he still got to where he wanted to be for the most part. While Hamilton was constantly writing, constantly in the public eye, constantly, his father-in-law was in the Senate, yet he still wasn't, and he did get to Secretary Treasurer. Is that right? Or am I switching him with Jefferson? He was a secretary or something. I need to re-listen to the album and all my history books from my history degrees, but still, American history is not my specialty. But he basically hit a roadblock. I mean, his affair did not fucking help, because the way he fucking treated Eliza, she birthed 9 of his kids. 9 kids. 9 fucking kids. And this bitch, this bitch thinks he can just go run around with this tramp? Excuse the fuck out of me, sir. You got off a lot easier than you deserved. I mean, it was also the 1800s, so it's not a whole lot she could do. But still. That didn't help. But so he was coming up against the wall. And also, Hamilton was probably actually of color, just white passing, because he's from the Caribbean. Aaron Burr was actually a white man. So he had a lot more stacked against him. But I'm talking about this in extrovert and introvert theories. So Hamilton, extrovert, but ended up not getting. Though probably remember more. He is on the $10. So in a way, remember more for his achievements than Aaron Burr was, but Aaron Burr got to where he wanted to be, while Hamilton didn't, if that makes any sense. So it's not always the loudest who is making strides in doing that, and it's not always the quietest. So it's just, don't take it at face value, basically. So the next article is caring for your introvert. This is going to be another one of those long Let's Chats. I know I haven't done them in a while, but bear with it. You'll be alright. I have 60 other videos you can all check on of various links. I even have some video games where I play video games terribly. You can watch those too. You don't have to watch those. You don't have to watch my channel at all. You can go somewhere else. I don't care. I do this for me. But if you want to stay, I love you. This is from The Atlantic. It was a 2003 article. So, these thoughts have been around for a while. It's just not... I need a haircut. It's a mess. Probably just gonna end up getting the same haircut I always do. Anyways. Do you know someone who needs hours alone every day? Who loves quiet conversations about feelings or ideas? And can give a dynamic presentation to a big audience, but seems awkward in groups? And basically mediocre, but that's not what it's saying. At small talk, word I've never seen in my life. I didn't learn how to read until I was 8, and that was learning phonetically, so it wasn't from the lack of trying, it's just words. I'm sure I have some undiagnosed learning disorder or something. That just being quiet and being a woman went unnoticed, undiagnosed. That's another thing, but like in women and in quiet people, learning disability and stuff go unnoticed, while those who are extroverted get picked up a lot faster. And that's just like teachers not really paying attention, because the American education system is not great. Anyways, who has to be dragged to parties and then needs rest of the day to recuperate? Who growls or skulls or grunts or winces when accosted with pleasantries by people who are just trying to be nice to them? That's just a grumpy old person. If so, do you tell this person that he is too serious, or ask him if he's okay? Regard him as aloof, arrogant, rude? Redouble your efforts to draw him out? If you answered yes to these questions, chances are that you have an introvert on your hands and that you aren't caring for him properly. Science has learned a good deal in recent years about the habits and requirements of introverts. It has even learned, by means of brain scans, that introverts process information differently from other people. I'm not making this up. If you are behind the curve on this important matter, be reassured that you are not alone. Introverts may be common, but they are also possibly the most understood and aggrieved groups in America, possibly the world. I mean, I would argue people of color would be the most misunderstood and aggrieved, but that's not what we're talking about today. What is introversion? In the modern sense, the concept goes back to the 1920s and the psychologist Carl Jung. Today, it is mainstay of personality tests, including the widely used Myers-Briggs type indicator. Introverts are not necessarily shy. Shy people are anxious or frightened or keep themselves out of social settings. Like, I can understand words, it's just saying them and reading them that they don't connect always. Introverts generally are not. Introverts are also not misanthropic. Why I can say that? My brain, I swear, you guys. Though some of us do go along with the satire as far as to say, hell is other people at breakfast, brother. Yeah, I like eating meals by myself. I don't have to have conversation. I just get to eat my food and enjoy the meal. And yeah. Okay. Rather, introverts are people who find other people tiring, which we've already discussed, to ad nauseum, really and truly. And so the next article is on introversion, and it's from Psychology Today, and I'll link all these below like I normally do. Is it better to be an introvert or an extrovert? Anyone who identifies strongly as one or the other will likely argue that their type holds greater advantages, but in reality, there are pros and cons to each. Research has shown that extroverts may be more successful than introverts, practically in fields such as politics or entertainment. On the other hand, extroversion has also been linked to psychopathy, so psychopath, and antisocial behavior. introversion is often perceived as less socially desirable, as introverts may struggle to form close relationships. So this is a dated article, because that other one is like, oh, they can form, new science has come to life and they can form relationships a lot easier. Which, yeah, so if I had just read this article and not other articles, I would argue that that is not correct. Because again, you choose who you talk to, you choose who you form relationships with, rather than just anybody. And so you're able to build and get closer. You may not talk every day, but talking every day doesn't mean you're in a close relationship or anything like that. It's the level of communication rather than the level and quality of communication rather than how much. You can have a conversation a day and it still be empty and superficial and not have any meaning, so. But the trait has also been linked to intelligence and giftedness. I do agree with that. Recently, some researchers have proposed an ambivert advantage, theorizing that ambiverts, individuals who fall near the middle of introverted extroverted scale, may be better off overall than those at the extreme. And that's what I'm trying to get to in my own personal life. And I'm gotten a little bit better about it, but I still feel drained a lot. Is getting to that ambivert area where I'm neither one nor the other. I really like balance, so I'm trying to get myself there. So yeah. And then the next one, and now I'm getting more into the extrovert stuff because I didn't want to make it all just introvert and bias and leaning towards me and making me look great, even though I am. So the next one is Business Insider, and is what being an extrovert means. A stereotypical extrovert is loud, sociable, and the life of the party. In reality, extroversion is nothing to do with confidence, which we spoke about earlier. Rather, it's about seeking our pressures. Sorry. Lunch was delicious, but I don't want to have it a second time. Rather, it's about seeking out pressure because you need it to function. That's gotta be frustrating. I can't. I work okay under pressure, not as well as I used to because it broke me. But needing that to function suck. You need it to perform. You need that pressure to perform, and I'm like, see, I need the opposite now. I need quiet. I need everything. Well, I need everything in my control, but I'm not dependent on other people. And yeah. But maybe that's something else altogether. Who knows? Both introverts and extroverts can be highly confident people. It just manifests in different ways. Extroverts aren't always the life of the party and full of confidence. They simply don't have enough of a chemical that makes them feel stimulated. That's hilarious. I was just talking about my haircut. My hairstylist is keep the mohawk, because it kind of is shaved on both sides. So, totally should. That's a look. Anyways, she's amazing. If you live in Middle Georgia, high maintenance, Gabby, she's got you. She's great. I would recommend her to anyone and everyone, no matter what type of hairstyle you want to get. She's amazing. I've been going to her for 6 years now. I don't trust anybody else in my hair. So anyways, they simply don't have enough of the chemical that makes them feel stimulated to do things. So they have to seek out added pressure, like social occasions and deadlines. I hate deadlines. I'm late to everything. I was gonna start this around 11 a.m. It is now 2:35. It's nothing to do with confidence. It's nothing at all to do with confidence, Blair told Business Insider. You have a lot of extroverts that have to go out, but they don't want to because they think nobody wants to be with them, and they go anyways. I'll give you a hug. Do you need a hug? I'll give you a hug. But then there are others who go out because they just assume people are going to want to be with them. What is that feeling like? At the same time, there are introverts who are very confident and comfortable with themselves. Then there are those who are low in confidence, who avoid going out, which exaggerates the problem. So being an introvert or an extrovert doesn't really have any impact on how self-assured you are. And I've definitely grown in being more self-assured and just self-confident in general, and that took a very long time. Like, I'd say that really just started to happen in the last few years. So, and then ambiverts. This is also Business Insider, and it's what it means if you are an ambivert. And this was last year's, 2018. So an updated source. As well as extroverts and introverts, there are ambiverts, who lie somewhere in the middle. Researchers predict about 2/3 of us are ambiverts. There are people who sometimes like to socialize, but other times they want to be alone. As with all personality types, there are benefits and drawbacks. People are often categorize themselves into two types, an extrovert or an introvert. And this is something I wanted to touch. I think more people are ambiverts than one thing or the other. I think they're a good mixture. But since this is a relatively new word and phrase, you're kind of just leaning into what you more like. One person I dated said they were they really felt more like an introvert. I was like, I'm thinking you lean more to ambivert, because you can be very outgoing, you're great at public speaking, etc., but you also need a little bit of recharging time, but you don't shy away from social engagements. So it's just a matter of knowing the terms and knowing what they mean and stuff like that, so you can identify yourself. And that goes with like any sort of self-identification. So stereotypically, extroverts are the life of the party, like we've said, and like nothing more than socializing with friends and meeting new people. Introverts are happy going home and curling up with a book. I mean, that's true. I prefer a good book over a conversation any day. Depends on the conversation. But as research has shown, extroversion and introversion lie on a spectrum. In fact, it might not be the case of being one or the other, but a mixture of both. These people are called ambiverts. And one study predicts up to 2/3 of us could be labeled as this instead. So 2/3 out of 7 billion people. I don't know what that math would be, and I don't feel like doing it. I'm not good at math. I don't need a header, a footer there. For example, when I'm in a good mood, I can be the last person standing at a party. But there are also days I prefer to go home early and spend some time alone. People like me don't fit into the rigid categories of extrovert and introvert. But sometimes I'll be one, and the next day I'll be the other. And that is my notes. So, yeah. So we've got extrovert, not always loud, not based on self-confidence. It's just how you need, what energy level, what you need for energizing, basically, what you need for yourself. And then same thing with extrovert. You can be really confident, and like to stay at home. It doesn't mean you're shy. And then ambivert, good mixture. So yeah, all good things. Guess save. They didn't change that. That's fine. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm looking at medical stuff now. That needed a refresh. Anyway, so hopefully that was enlightening and useful and helpful, and maybe you found what you are a little bit more. If you did, or you know what you are, let me know below. I'd love to know. But I do these little Let's Chats so we can do just that, have a good chat and whatnot. Because I love, despite being an introvert, I love knowing about people's ideas and having good, deep conversations with people about ideas and who they are and personalities and goals and things like that. I love it. Surprisingly, I know. So let me know. I'm cool to talk about it. I love talking about it. All that good stuff. And boop that like button, boop the subscribe button, and I will see you wonderful people in the next video. Hope you have a great day. Bye.